Which I would love. Drake kind of moved to GWC. You don't like that? sure people got Bill.
Nice to meet you, Bill. I'm Ellie.
Hi, Ellie. Just crawling into my turtle shell
A few
here.
more minutes.
Are you guys still doing game stream in addition to your show?
Trying to, but with the girls and stuff like that.
Oh, no,
I just started doing some Rocket League stuff.
Oh my gosh, that game is so fun.
That game is so fun.
I have not played Rocket League.
I'm so horrible, but it's so fun.
Okay.
It's like a
It's
bunch
so
of
fun.
kids on the soccer.
It's like Mario Kart meets soccer. It's so fun.
Oh my
Like,
god.
it's definitely that game that's like breaking through this year.
Yeah.
I just kicked my Fallout Shelter habits.
My
I
wife
do
did-
need-
my
Good
wife
luck
did-
with 4 on the horizon.
No, that was the thing. I was like, I need to stop so that I'm still excited when
Right.
4 comes out. But then my addiction just transferred to my fiance. And now I'm pretty sure she's probably gonna check her people. Like,
All right, we got a few more minutes. We're gonna get started here in just a few more minutes. Podcasting, past, present, and future.
he's probably dead.
Well, I said a few more minutes.
But yeah.
Tell us about your breakfast. Did you Instagram it?
No.
What breakfast?
I had vegan waffles, although I'm not vegan. That's what was available. But I made up for it in like half a pound of chicken.
Yeah, we went to Panera and found out one of my twin girls likes apparently likes souffle.
Okay.
She ate most of mine.
They're awesome at that age, right? Everything's new.
Oh
The
man.
chicken fingers out here are delicious.
What's this hilarious is with the Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that is odd. I was like, Starbucks is serving hamburgers, French fries, and
Yeah.
chicken fingers.
Oh, it's so good though. Or the burgers in the
Are the
Marriott.
fries caffeinated? Because that'd be awesome.
Burgers and fries at
I
Starbucks.
would-
That's
Be so
Well, it's
happy.
downstairs. They had a sign.
I think it's a cafe that serves Starbucks coffee.
got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually part of the chain.
Got it.
Quit destroying my dream. I want to be at Starbucks.
I just ruined your life.
Ah.
I'm so
Why
sorry.
you gotta break our hearts? Why?
Go to Starbucks downtown, be like, yeah, I'd like to have a hamburger and a latte.
No, we have a vegan wrap.
Well, it's like there's a McDonald's in Florida that has like spaghetti and pizza and
Is
everything.
that the one where you can order at the table?
Yeah. We walked in, we were like, guys,
So
are we
they-
at
are
the
they-
McDonald's?
are they
What is
still-
going on here?
I can't believe they serve meatloaf also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
meatloaf is good.
I live in Nebraska,
I don't know if I'd eat
and that's where they did the first one. Well, when I used to live
Make
there,
meatloaf.
and we were like, this
Never
is
had my
so
mother's.
weird.
That's-
You know, you go in, sit down, and you order on a little,
She's a good cook.
kiosk. I thought they were stopping that. It's the 3-in-1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun and the food was good. I was like, did not expect McDonald's spaghetti to be delicious. Okay.
Are you guys ready? You want to get started?
Oh,
All right.
keep talking, man.
I did. I that's what I'm asking. You know, y'all get good. All right, welcome to Dragon Con Podcasting Track. This is podcasting at past, present, and future, and we have a full awesome panel here. So we're gonna start with Bill Duran. What's your show? Where'd you get started?
Hi, I'm Bill Duran. I run a prop making company called Punished Props, and as well as being a guest on the morning stream over on the podcast network, my wife and I also run a prop costume making Q&A show every week called Prop Live on YouTube and also in audio form.
Ellie?
I am Ellie Collins. I currently run Omega Reactor Gaming Podcast. I got my start at Hinch and Justice Radio, Girls in Trouble podcast, which was an all-female Japanese superhero show. And been doing podcasting forever.
I'm JJ Valentine. My wife and I do a couples cast called Valentine Cast. We started probably in 2009. It's just a show that we do that we talk about our geeky life. Now it's about our life with twins.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Rob Roberts. I've done a variety of different shows and live streaming projects throughout the years. Probably my most well known is Orange Lounge Radio, which has been broadcasting weekly since June 23rd, 2002.
Nice.
I'm Audrey Kearns. I'm the founder and editor of Geek Girl Authority, a pop culture website. And I have 3 podcasts going on right now. One's 5 Truths and a Lie. It's a live storytelling show podcast. I also do Kneel Before Odd, which is an interview podcast, and Polecats, which is a debate podcast where we get a panel of experts to debate nerdy things.
That sounds very cool.
Yeah.
Now, there's one really good, well, two really good rules for this panel. You got to have some good questions because we're going to open it up and get a lot of good questions from you. Secondly, you have to take lots of pictures and tag us in them and Twitter them out 'cause we would love that. So, Audrey,
Yes, sir.
where this is past, present, future, I like to do it kind of chronologically because I can't speak, so I'll say that. When you got started, what was the playing field like in media?
Well, we got started with our storytelling show, and it was that's about 5 or 6 years ago. And the playing field, I don't know if I can answer that question because we were so new to it and trying to figure it out together. So it was more about what was great is that we had the tools to teach ourselves everything that was already out there. And as soon as we got onto iTunes and Stitcher and learned those, how to do that, we immediately, the audience is out there. It's just a matter of figuring out a way to get to them. And once we did that, and that only took probably about a couple months to figure that out.
Now, did you find there was a gap for women getting into the media?
Well, I live in Los Angeles, so I see that all the time. That's why I started Geek Girl Authority. And what's interesting is my website is 55% of my audience is women and 45% men. So, not for me because I go and most of my like polecats is usually all women. So it's kind of like we're making sure that we're putting women out there first in our podcasts. That makes sense.
Yeah, everything in
Did I answer the
podcasts is a
question?
niche, and
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
just found it. It seems like you just found it to be standard barrier to entry as everybody else.
Yeah, I
Not so
guess
much
you-
because you're a woman; it was harder.
Yeah, it's just I've been, in the entertainment industry for 20 years, so I'm very used to always the rule is you make your own opportunities, and sometimes I cut out the noise, like the fact that there's only a certain gender or out there or certain ages out there because I'm also an older person in Los Angeles. I would be considered like a senior
That'd be
citizen.
21, right? 21 in Los Angeles.
22.
20, okay.
So I've always been making my own opportunities. So sometimes I cut out the noise and I don't pay attention to what's already out there because that may make me run back into my hole and be scared.
See, that's a really good point. Not listening to what other people are doing, just go and do your thing and figure it out. Rob, you started before podcasting with radio. How'd you make the transition, and how quickly did you make it?
I was introduced to streaming online actually in college radio. I didn't even know this when I was in college, but apparently you can get FM radio through the cable connection if you hook it up to a radio. And that was the only way you could hear the college station I broadcasted on for a while. And man, if you thought your podcast had no listeners, let me tell you how many people were listening to me play the Spice Girls on college radio just because I could. Nobody would hear it. And from that, they went into real audio because that's right around the time that high-speed internet was really starting to show up, and it was showing up in college dorms, right? So we got that wired, and we were doing that. So from there, I was mentored by a buddy of mine named Travis with a show called Understation Live, and I was his co-host. And he broadcast on a network called Live 365, which I believe they're actually still around today. But that was kind of an evolution of a lot of that real audio where you could pretty much pay them to host your own type of radio station. And we set up our own talk radio thing. I had some friends that I played video games with, and one gal, Jamie, and I wanted to set up this show to talk about video games. We thought it would be fun to do something kind of similar to what I'd been exposed to in college radio and through what Travis had introduced me to. And do this, bring the community together on Sunday nights. We had an awful lot of fun. Our buddy Matt, or Loki on the show, just kept showing up, and he was kind of just a part of the show after 20 episodes. We invited him on as a full-time host. I will say I was not very aware of the world around me. Kind of similarly, I think I tuned a lot of that out. It was more like, how did I get from A to B to C to D and now where I'm at now? But we were fortunate enough during those days to be nominated for one of the Best of Live 365 awards for actually the best station one year, which was quite an honor. And I think that was 2004. We went to an awards ceremony in Burlingame, which is by the San Francisco airport, so it was easy for me to get to. And we all went. We had a great time. And I noticed a lot of the community was like a lot of people that made the transition from ham radio. A lot of folks that I met were kind of amateur radio broadcasters in that more traditional sense of, the CB radio, the ham radio, and this was kind of that evolution of that. So that's what I found very fascinating in those days is that, this is just now instead of radio, you needing a license for it to talk from one trucker to another on these other frequencies in ham radio. Now it's just all online. So that I found very fascinating about who was doing it.
Very cool. Did you find that it was Wild Wild West, just everybody there was talking about anything, and that you came in because you came from radio, maybe with a better structure and maybe did better, or was it about the same as anybody else?
Oh gosh, certainly. I mean, the show I did before OLR, when Travis had me on the show Understation Live, that was the definition of Wild Wild West radio in so many ways. I remember one episode. This is be so embarrassing. One episode, that's why you're all here, right? One episode we actually called the Bunny Ranch on a whim. Ended up talking to the owner for like an hour, and that was one of my favorite radio moments that ever happened because it was just so random, but the guy was just so jazzed, and he knew nothing about this show that was happening in the basement. He was just like, cool, new technology. You should come party with us sometime. And I'm just like, this is so weird. My mother better not be listening. Please, no.
Now, JJ, you famously do a show with your wife. Right. I think she's the famous one. You just help do the tech, right?
You do the tech. I'm the tech guy.
A lot of people, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but it definitely seemed like in the early days of podcasting, you were always looking for a co-host, but there were certain couples that were able to have the co-host built in, like yourself. Did you find that was a more encouraging way to start the show than having to do everything on your own?
Yeah, definitely. We started off as just a blog, we would weekly go back and forth, like when we would review games. She would have a paragraph, then I had a paragraph, and we would counter each other. And listening to a lot of people know of Jawbone Radio, may have heard of that, with Lynn Peralta and his wife Nora, and that was one of the shows that inspired us. And Renee and I, we just enjoy talking to each other and fighting. I mean, it makes a good show, especially now that we're live and everything, and I'm yammering on, and someone looks at the camera and she's like, she's yawning and stuff. So there's always a bet in the chat room when she's going to start yawning. So, but it was great to have a built-in co-host. Some people, because of personalities, think that may be a dangerous thing for their marriage or for their relationship. But
I think that.
Yeah, but I'll say for us, because she has a hard time remembering a lot of stuff, but it's almost like a journal for us, so we can go back and listen to shows and like, oh man, you remember when we got Sammy, which was one of our dogs, and we'll listen to that show. It's just something good. And now for our girls, it's just like a journal for them as well. So.
Right. And that's something that Facebook has some app that pops up, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, your memories, whatever. And to be able to go back to your shows, and especially when your kids get older, they always start asking, well, what were you like before we came around? Hopefully they can go listen out. Some of my shows they cannot go listen to, but in your case, same at least. It's that journal of life, and you can go back and see how much you've changed and grown, because you only have your own perspective of what's going on, and seeing that's pretty awesome. Now, I'm noticing part of your crew is missing, because I understand that you always have the babies when you do a show. Yeah. You're in front of a microphone, there's no babies. I don't understand what's going on here.
They're with our sister-in-law right now.
So you're not getting the full Valentine effect.
No, you're not. They're usually strapped to our chest right now, but not today, man. So we're being wild right now. Living on the edge.
I got a question about families and podcasting. People talk about family-friendly shows. Is there anything you changed in your show, knowing that you're going to have kids that were going to listen now, or was it always you are who you are, and that's always how it's been?
Well, we are who we are. I mean, we're going to be those parents that like I have 3 other kids that are older, and my son, he's almost 16 now, and I was reading through his emails just making sure everything's cool, and I saw him cussing with one of his friends. That was cool, but he was using curse words wrong. And I was like, Daniel, come on, man. This is out of place and everything else. Yeah. I don't want them to go out and just be you know, talking kind of crazy. At least know what you're saying.
I'm not sure if you're allowed to swear. I'm sorry to interject. I'm not sure if you're allowed to swear, but what did he say wrong? I'm really curious about that.
I can't remember, man, but it was. Can we swear?
You know what? Dunaway's. It's our panel.
It was
say, good to know
I mean, it
before
was
you
a
get to
fuck.
me.
You know, he used fuck wrong. It was kind of. It was just really.
That word is so versatile, though.
It was, I thought the same thing.
It's like Smurf. You
I
can-
thought somebody
Yes.
used it wrong.
Yes, it is.
He seriously used it wrong, and I was like, how did he do that? It was just really weird. And,
Let me proofread your roast before you.
Yeah.
Maybe you're doing it wrong, Dad. Maybe you're not hip with the new lingo or
no,
something.
but I mean, with our girls, and Renee and I talked about it too. I want them to be able to, you know, express themselves and also be respectful. We don't want them to go up to the teacher and be like, "Hey, well, fuck you," you know.
Yeah.
No. You
Oh,
know,
place
don't
and
do that.
time, right?
You
Right,
know,
place
but
and time.
right place and right time and everything else. So, but yeah. So nothing's going to change with that.
All
Not
right.
with us.
That's good, because that's what we always talk about, being who you are on your show. That's why it's
Right.
successful. Those kind of things. Ellie, do you find that as a midget it was hard to get into? No, I'm sorry. I've known Ellie forever. I'm super huge. She already gave me a big joke earlier. She just didn't get it on the recording. So I'm the bad guy. I'll play the bad guy. Now, Ellie, you've done some amazing things. You started your own con based off of the stuff you're covering with podcasting.
Yes.
What's been your journey from the beginning?
In the beginning, I had kind of the opposite experience where, being a female in podcasting, I had to do so much fighting for it, because our show was, there was a bigger show called Henshin Justice Radio that we would guest on occasionally, the girls that I hosted my show with. And, you know, we would come on the show and people would really like the episode, and we'd be like, hey, we want to do more episodes with you guys. And they're like, well, but when you come on, you talk about girly stuff a lot, and we don't really want our show to be that. And then we were like, okay, well, can you give us our own show? And since we were a subset, we would still show up in the iTunes feed with the regular show, and we would get so much hate. Like, the regular show would get tons of hate of like, why can't you just put this girl podcast on another stream so I don't have to automatically download these episodes? And so our boss was like, look, the level of hate that we're getting, you guys have got to start being more entertaining, or we have to cancel the show. And so...
Hold on. Let's cover that for a second. So you were presumably doing a good show that you loved. You were entertaining yourselves, which is number one rule of radio and podcasting. If you're not entertained, your audience is not entertained. So presumably you're entertaining yourselves, doing your show. But because you were girls on a guy network, you had to be more entertaining, which presumably means be slutty girls. I mean, that's how you do it, right? In radio, is if you're going to be more entertaining, that means you have to be the idiot bimbo.
For us, we developed it in, since we were an offshoot of a podcast series that was for Tokusatsu, which is Japanese superheroes, Ultraman, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider. We decided, okay, well then let's take this to its natural incarnation, where we're each going to be like a specific ranger, like from Power Rangers. So we developed our personalities to where Paula was the super cutesy one, you know, Carol was the overly intellectual one, and then I was the bitch. And in that, I developed a really fun personality that I like podcasting with now. If you guys meet me, I'm way nicer than when I podcast. Charles knows this. I ream him on his podcast. And honestly, through being pushed in that kind of really offensive way, I developed this podcasting persona that now I really enjoy doing. And so on Omega Reactor, we get into it. Our most recent episode, I think I wound up like screaming at my co-host because he was talking ill of Five Nights at Freddy's, and I was like, you don't even understand.
Hey, just to be clear, I'm not saying she needed to be more feminine or whatever in the show. When something offensive comes along that way, that's what I found in radio and in broadcasting is, guys, when you have to be more entertaining, it's literally because you're boring. When a woman has to be more entertaining, it's because they literally think that you have to put out this cheap persona that will get guys listening, and it's bad. It's not a great thing. Bill, you've experienced that, right? You've been made to slut on the show.
Oh, I've already started taking off parts of my costume.
So I've got a specific question for you. I was here for the first panel, and it was something you said that really struck me that I wanted to ask you, so I was glad you're here. You said you started listening to, I think it was The Morning Stream and some other shows, and then somehow you went from a listener to being a member, a very valued member of the show. How did you make that transition?
That was cool. At the time, I had a desk job, and I listened to lots of And every podcast I listened to, I would write into or call in if they had an opportunity because I was a fanboy. I was like, I got to talk to Scott Johnson. Oh my god! And then with the morning stream, I can't remember how it came up, but I had in like a year before that lost a ton of weight, and I was really getting into fitness. And on the show, they were talking about those similar things, and I was like, well, I'm not a professional at that, but I have an opinion about it. I emailed them and said, you guys want to do a fitness segment on the morning stream? And I said, sure. And that was it.
That was it.
On the next week.
Easy as that.
Yeah, and that was 100.
But then the burden was on you to be entertaining and
exactly.
prove your value. And
yeah, but that was 100. I think I've been out for over 150 episodes.
Wow.
Like once a week for like the last 3 or 4 years.
And now you do your own
Yeah, now
shows.
I do my own thing. The cool thing though about the fitness stuff is even though I'm not, and actually a guy came up to me, a personal trainer yesterday, and he loved that the segment was done. He said that there's things I get wrong. I'm like, of course, yeah, totally. I'm not a professional. But I've helped motivate the community. Like they started a Lose It group. Then the community as a whole has gotten into being more fit. It'd be great if we could come up with a figure, the total pounds lost inside the Frog Pants community. But I know it's significant, and I'm glad I played a part in that. It was cool.
That's awesome.
I think the first year it was over. It was a ton and a half.
Yeah.
It was the first year.
Yeah, it was like
because Renee and I we were running that, and then the girls came.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna sit back a little bit further so Bill can keep trying to look over his shoulder.
You didn't see me when we got off the Marriott floor at like 3 a.m. last night. My buddy and I were like, pizza. So no one saw that, I don't think.
But yeah,
the slices are literally a quarter of the pizza.
Yeah.
I had a slice.
But they cost a whole pizza. So
yeah, it's been it's probably about 2 tons.
Yeah.
Oh, it's over 2 tons now.
But more in general though, like I was stoked because this is a community that I love, and to help them lead happier, healthier lives. That's really cool. But yeah, that's how I stuck my foot in the door. I always tell people if you want help from a community, be helpful.
Yeah.
You know, if you want people to be more friendly, you be more friendly, and that's exactly what I did. I just offered my help.
I had the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm more mean. People like me.
You know, that's somewhere.
You kind of figured out.
Yeah, is it being friendly or is it being helpful or is it just being yourself?
It's a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
like with Girls in Trouble, I would get known for like completely shitting on certain seasons of Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. We did a panel and someone came up and was like, just because I want to hear it, what do you think about Kamen Rider O's? And I grabbed the microphone, I'm like, let's talk about this shit right now.
Right. We had our first major hater controversy when we had her on the show because she pooped on Joss Whedon and the audience went, ooh, yeah. But it was fun. It was good. You did. It's just the way you delivered it.
Somebody took it completely the
But
wrong way.
talking about community, we will have a panel here tomorrow at 10 a.m. about the power of community, how it's everything, and that's going to be very important to be a part of. But let's talk about the present. JJ, you mentioned live, and I think that's where everything might be going. Let's go down. We can start here with you, Bill.
All right.
Do you do any live? Would you do any live? How do you do it?
We do. I started doing what we call Prop Live as the show. It's all Q&A from our fans where they ask me questions about projects that they're working on, and I help them. We have guests on who also are other professionals in the prop and costume making field. The whole thing started though because at the time I was working by myself in the basement all day, every day. It's my full-time job, and I get really lonely, like desperate for contact with humans, getting really chatty with the post office lady. So I started a live show just on YouTube with the Google Hangout thing, and I would pull my friends, other prop maker friends in, mostly just so I had someone to talk to. And it was a casual thing. It was a thing I wanted to do. It seemed really fun, and it fulfilled a need for me. And then a bunch of people started watching it, which was great. And that was, I don't know, 50 or 60 episodes ago. Keep doing it.
Nice. Now, did you find, because I'm going to ask a brief question for everybody along these lines, too, because I want to hear if you're doing it or not. Real quick, what's your setup? How hard was it for you to set up a live stream or a live broadcast in your area?
That one we do really simple. It's through Google Hangout. I use a Yeti mic in a webcam.
There you
That's
go.
really it, yeah.
Nice.
Headphones.
Ella, do you do live? I know you've done it before, but do you do it now?
No. I'm not someone who can be live. I have to be edited.
No.
Well, and in the sense of like, because my current co-host, he and I have been friends for a long time. We have the same friends in the community, and I'll have habits of accidentally spilling like personal information on the show. Like, we'll be talking about something. I'll be like, "Yeah, I saw that when I was over at Dorian's house. You know, he just moved to this area," and I'll be like, "Oh crap."
Yeah, order a pizza and here's my credit card number.
Yeah. Like, hold on, you keep talking. Get order.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be edited and filtered. Like, I enjoy more putting out a crisp podcast because I also mumble a lot and I speak multiple languages, so I'll forget how to say certain words in English, and then that's 10 minutes of a chunk of time of me going, what is that friggin' word? And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, cabbage.
JJ, how did you go into live, and what do y'all do with it?
Well, we started we started adding video, and then it would be post edited, and then we were like, man, we can do this live because when we record, I was tired of editing. Right. So I did some research, and we picked up XSplit. We both have we run both of our cameras through my computer, and so we've had a guy make us the overlay, and we just upstream to what's that gaming one? Twitch, which, you know, I'm waiting for him to come in and say, you're not streaming the video game.
Oh, they've dropped that now. You don't have to stream the video games anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So you're set.
There you go. So that's why I don't have to worry anymore. So we with using Twitch, and then we hooked in with Alpha Geek Radio. Big hand to Todd. Is Todd over here?
Nope, Todd stepped away.
Well, anyway, but Kim,
Yeah.
but I mean, you guys watching it there now, but he makes it real easy for us to be able to stream live and kind of make a central location for our IRC and everything else.
Nice.
So it's been awesome.
Nice. Rob?
I think I'm a little different. I've actually almost always been live. Since Orange Lounge started in 2002, that was live. The things I did before that, and college radio was live. So I think that was kind of radio to me. I mean, that was just my frame of reference. So when I started hearing that people were editing their shows, I was like, why would you edit? They're tuning in to hear you mess up. It's
Right.
you know. But I get it. Like I obviously I get that school of thought. So yeah, I guess my perspective has been different. But I have done some non-live shows. I hosted a show for a little while. It's on hiatus right now called Horde House, which is about World of Warcraft and then other MMOs. And more for availability reasons, we didn't do it live. And that just because it's so important if you are going to be live, I think, to be regular. And I think that goes with anything. If you're going to do a live podcast, if you're going to do game streaming, you know, which is something I'm trying to dip my toe in a little more with, it really, really helps if people know you're going to be live at Wednesday, 7 o'clock, whatever it is, and then that way they're making the time to be there as well. So when that's not going to work, then I don't do live. And so in the beginning days of Horde House, my co-host and I were kind of had a bit more flexible. You know, we had schedules that weren't so consistent, so we decided to do the edit route, and then we ended up shifting it live eventually. So
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
In the early days of podcasting, 2004, 2005, everybody's like, edit, 'cause you guys sound the greatest. And I was with you, JJ. I was like, I am tired of editing. I'm just going to... It was a bad show. It literally was like anything that came to my mind hit the wall, and
I was
it
like
bad,
so against that in the beginning too. I hope I wasn't mean to anybody, but I was just like, why would you do that? But you know, I get it. You know, it's an artistic choice and so forth.
Yeah.
And like, you know, there's a lot of great YouTubes that are very slickly edited out there, and that's what you got to do to sometimes compress. Keep in mind the show I do, OLR. It can be anywhere from 2.5 hours to 3.5 hours on a Sunday night, and that's just how we do it. And you know, people say, how long's your show? However long we feel like talking. And I don't usually get complaints from the audience because that's just what they're used to booking in their schedule, is that, you know, it's a long show and people are ready for that.
So what I hear you say, and we're coming, RJ, I promise, we'll ask you. I know, is you can train your audience to do what fits you best.
I don't know if it's necessarily training the audience, but more like maybe they kind of adjust. If they like you well enough, they make the adjustments they need to do. And, you know, there's a lot of people I know that listen to OLR that are like, well, I heard it up to the classic game of the week and then I turned it off. You know, and, okay, well, thanks for listening to what you did. You know, it's cool. You fit in what you can fit in.
Yeah.
We'll split things up too. We do our regular show live from the shop once a week, Wednesday at 5 p.m. But then, and that's Q&A. That's me talking. And sometimes we'll just turn on the live stream while we are building stuff in the shop, and people love that. And we'll just field questions sort of from the chat in a much more informal manner.
Yeah.
But that's me building something, and it could take 6 hours. So that video, it'll get archived on there, and sure, you can go back and watch it, but it's like 6 hours long. It's not compressed. It's a totally different sort of format. So we'll do other build videos where I build something and it's totally edited. It's 10 minutes long, it's really slick, because that's much more consumable. So we try and do a little of all of those things, because people will listen to, one of them they'll listen to on their commute, one of them they'll watch while they're sitting on the couch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what's funny is a lot of what you're talking about kind of reminds me of like Twitch and a lot of things going on there, except instead of video games, it's this different hobby of making props and so forth. But, there's Twitch archives out there 8 hours long. Who's going to sit there and watch all that? Yeah. Well, some people do. But then some people take it, edit it down, and make their best of, and that's their thing.
And Twitch is doing a lot. They have a creative channel now, and it is getting huge.
Now YouTube has a
well, yeah, now with YouTube entering that same space, now there's a little more, I think they're kind of equalizing a little bit. Yeah.
And what you're tapping into is different audiences. I mean, that 6-hour video is amazing live, because I'm watching you right now work on this helmet or whatever piece you're working on. And I can say, hey, why'd you pick that method? And it's that documentary that's happening right now thing versus I just really want to see the end result of what you did, the 10-minute audience, and it's really cool. Audrey, have you done live? Do you do live? What's your work?
The nature of my interview podcast, Neil Before Odd, I'm interviewing people in the entertainment industry, so I'm at their mercy as far as scheduling, so I'm not doing a live show. Sometimes because I'm going to their offices or even their houses and stuff, because they're not going to come to my house, And so, sometimes I'll bank 3 in 1 week, but I make sure I release them at the same time every Tuesday. As far as the live storytelling show, we've thought about that, but we would certainly have to make it tighter, because we have act breaks and stuff like that, and then we run into the situation where we have celebrities tell stories sometimes on 5 Truths and a Lie, and we've run into a situation where there's a lot of wine and beer at my storytelling show. We had a very well-known comedian tell a story about a hardcore Coke binge he had in New York. And when we were putting the show together to release it, we got a panic call, because he names people in the his binge and everything. It's like, oh my God, you guys can't put that up. You can't put that up. And it was like, well, he already signed something that said we could, but we were not going to make any bad blood. So we talked to him. We went through it. We made sure we took out and I have a really great sound producer and engineer, and he made it seamless, because we wanted to respect his, private, even though he did tell a room full of people, he just didn't want millions of people to know. So that's happened a few times with the storytelling. Even the one we did last night, and an actress told, I don't know if we were at that show, a questionable blind date story, and right afterwards, she got this look in her eye, and she goes, so that's gonna go out? And I'm like, yeah, it is. We're on the podcast track, and that's, so we try. That's one reason we don't do that, the storytelling show live too,
See,
So
makes sense.
every word I say out loud, ever, anywhere, is gonna go
somewhere.
The whole planet's gonna hear it.
You should, though, to a point, right? As a podcaster who wants to be serious about what you do, and you want to become higher than just a hobby, you do kind of assume people want to hear what you have to say. And then at some point in your brain, you have to go, I'm not watching my words, so it's going to be out there, and it might come back.
With my interview podcast, though, even if I'm going to people's offices and stuff like that with my equipment, I rarely ever edit. Once I start recording and we do the full hour, unless there was some kind of equipment failure, or maybe the actor or director said, oh, that I'm not supposed to talk about that yet. Can you take that out? That's only happened once or twice. Otherwise, it's the full hour, non-edited. I try not to mess with it. It's just not live.
Yeah, live to tape almost.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what we do. I mean, the only thing I edit out is I edit out like the large spaces of me trying to find a word in English, or if I said personal information. We take that out, but we had a recent episode where I was leaning back while we were recording, fell straight backwards.
Oh no!
We left it in.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Because you just hear the audio go like, yeah. So I was looking up the new Kickstarter for that.
There was a great episode of the morning stream where, for some reason, Brian Ibbett was just under the weather.
Oh my God.
And he leans in. He's like, I have to go right now. I'm gonna throw up. And he just turned around and walked away.
Wow.
Leave it in. That's gold.
One of my highest early on, one of my highest rated downloaded shows was one where I lost my temper because something went wrong again. So I took a wireless mouse, started ranting, picked up my wire. I took a wireless microphone, started pacing, picked up a wireless mouse, chunked it across the attic, and smashed it on the wall. And everybody downloaded the crap out of that show. And I'm like, great, come back next week. No, they just wanted to hear me rant and rave, and that's not. So it was done.
The secret to good podcasts: vomit and rage.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not.
That'd be a great name for a podcast.
Yes.
The Vomit and Rage podcast.
We get a 5% kickback if you start that show
We all
on
get
Patreon.
points.
The most uncensored podcast.
So, before we get questions, everybody starts thinking about questions. We're going to open it up. Just a quick survey. Show of hands. Who has a question? 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, I was just trying to gauge time. Thank you, Kim. She is. She literally has my back. It's awesome. She's great. So.
And if you want to keep them in line, you
There you go. So Audrey, we're going to start at your end.
Yes.
As we get ready to take questions, you mentioned a producer. Did you start off editing and doing everything yourself and go to an editor? How'd that work for you?
No, like I said, I've been, in this industry for like 20 years, and as me and my friends got older, we all started getting more into our niche careers. And a friend of mine that we used to do improv with and act with, he decided to go to school and become a sound engineer. So he comes to every single show, and he's got like the best equipment in his apartment. And so I just go over there with my my interviews or my podcast, and he runs it through all his filters and everything like that. And so I'm getting that for free. So
Nice.
we've known each other for like 15 years. So I'm very lucky in that way. And he's also given me basically my teacher to teach me, because I didn't know anything about when I started doing this. He recorded everything, and it got to the point when I started going to people's offices and stuff, I needed to learn how to do it myself. So he's been a great teacher and everything. So
That's awesome. It's always
Yeah.
good to make friends.
Yeah,
I think we
yeah.
probably all have made friends like that. along
and
the
that's
way.
that's the great thing in at least in the community I am in. I'm assuming that you guys too, is that everybody is so helpful and kind. Everybody's in the podcasting community. I find, you what your mic's broken, give so and so a call, or do you need this? I'll be right over. Everybody's just there to help you out. If you have a question, if you don't get it, there's no. I feel there's no like judgment, because I'll flat out say I don't know what I'm doing. Please help, and somebody will, and it's no judgment. It's great.
Awesome. Rob?
Honestly, it's kind of, since it started in 2002 and there wasn't a lot of that formal stuff set up at the time, I just kind of learned how to do a lot of it myself, and been kind of keeping it that way. I just, again, since we're live anyway, all the editing I'm doing is just to crop the show itself to put it into a podcast form. So just kind of, I have a system set up, little step-by-step guide that, I go through, and if I'm out of town for a weekend, so it's been rare, but sometimes my co-hosts will run the show, so they just follow the same step process on how to crop things and put it up. So, yeah, it's just kind of always been, we kind of figured it out how to do it ourselves, or we haven't done it.
Awesome. JJ?
Just a quick email to Scott Johnson. Said, hey, what's your setup? That's what I did, and then he did a private YouTube video for me and showed it to me, and I was like, okay. So I went and bought a mixer, mic, and all this other stuff, and all I use is Audacity. I go through and take out the white noise and run it through the whole program. Throw it in iTunes, make MP3 version.
There you go.
Up it goes. I mean,
Copy Scott is a pretty good business plan.
Yeah.
well,
I'm starting a new webcomic. Called Your Extra Life.
So, Ellie, when you came in, how did you do the editing? Were you just a talent? Not just, there's talent's talent, right?
No, because we were a part of that podcast where we were already fighting to be there, we were specifically told that we weren't allowed to be weekly because we had to use the same editor as them so that it would sound the same as the show. And they said, well, you guys are an extra show, and you don't want to put burden on our editor. So you can be once a month or once every 2 months, you know, just your seasonal podcast. So I came in just kind of being at their mercy, and then I always, after that, came in as a part of someone else's show. So I never knew. And now with Ron and I doing Omega Reactor, it's just us. We have nobody else. So Ron knows editing, and he's been coming over and teaching me the editing too, so I can take some of the burden off him and share that. So I'm only just now learning it after podcasting for 8 years.
Hey, well, you know, it's the path you take. What do you do with? Do you have a producer, or do you have Scott Johnson teaching you?
No, I'm married to my producer over there, Brittany.
Awesome.
The crazy robot in the back. Really? Is that what, when I'm downstairs live streaming, the cats are upstairs with the computer? Finally earning their keep. All right. We do, so the YouTube video content stuff that we do, I do all the filming, editing, producing on that with just a DSLR and an external mic and all that. That's not like what I would call the high-end stuff, and it takes a crap load of time to do. It's so much work. But I have a vision for that, so I like to do it all. But for the live stuff, it's not the best quality, but it is so easy to just fire up the Google Hangout thing. The guests are inconsistent because they use, you know, whatever microphone came with their computer, and they use to put on headphones. Even though, like, put on headphones would be way better for both of us. So that's a little bit inconsistent, but it's so easy that it makes sure that I have guests every week, and then I have a show every week. So we've just been going with that. And we just do all that ourselves because you just hit go, record the show, hit stop, and it archives it on YouTube.
Nice.
And then Brittany does all the show notes during the show and turns it into a podcast feed, an audio podcast feed. Somehow she does that. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Teams are great things, right?
Compartmentalization.
Brand new.
Fury.
Brand new out for a couple of weeks now, still in beta. Blab.im. Have y'all heard of Blab at all? You would like it if you're using Google Hangouts. Yeah. It's 4-screen. Their whole motto, or their whole reason of starting it, was to take the friction out of making a podcast. Really, it's friction out of making new media. 4 cameras. Whoever starts it controls who sits in the seats, if at all. Chat room. You can hit the record button. The compression on the video and audio is really good. It's pretty high quality, depending on what microphone you're using. And come on up. And it's really new. I'm very excited where it can go, but it sounds like for what you're doing, especially if you're having guests just pop in, it's a great way to build your community. I'm going to talk about it more tomorrow, but that's something.
The Pied Piper set it up.
Are you talking about from Silicon Valley, Pied Piper? Yeah. I'm not sure. Come up here. So we're going to have questions, so get your questions on up, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the future.
Hi, so my name is Aaron.
He did it on purpose.
Yeah, my name is Aaron. I'll do this.
It's done to me too, sorry.
No, I've done this for. I used to do stand-up, so I'm doing this a little bit. So, two questions, but hopefully they'll be quick. First off, I'm also in the same position you are. A couple years ago in college, I was doing live radio for a little bit, just in the local Miami area. No one else listens to it except for salsa. But for starting a podcast, what would you say is the best way to schedule your time if you have a busy schedule?
You're going to have to make time. You're going to have to find where's that weekly slot that you can do it. You know, it's so funny because people have asked me, like, is Orange Lounge Radio going to end, or what are you going to do when Orange Lounge Radio is done? And I don't like to think about the end of it. I know it's going to end someday. Nothing lasts forever. But honestly, what would I do with my Sunday nights? Like, that's just, after so long, it just becomes a part of your routine. So I think you have to take a similar approach, is that if you have a busy schedule, you're going to have to find where's that going to fit in for your routine. Think of it like you take a class. You got to be there Wednesday nights at 7. You go to church. You got to be there Sunday mornings 10 a.m. What can kind of work for you and hopefully your co-host? If you have to have a little bit of variance to make it work, then that's okay. But just realize it's probably not going to help you be regular if you're always varying it, because it makes it really easy to say, let's not do it this week. We're all too busy to do it this week. And every week you don't do it, your listeners are going to find something else. So be careful.
Okay. And for what are good open use apps or like open use programs that are available for like first time podcasters, or like budget programs that are out there? Because I know you mentioned
We use Audacity.
Blab.
Audacity?
Yeah.
Audacity's free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Audacity's free.
Yeah, I use Audacity also for even film editing for audio and whatnot. But what about like microphone or multi-camera setup? Like you mentioned Blab, which is
It's online software.
It's online software.
Just just remember you're going to get what you pay for with microphones. So don't buy a $10 microphone just because it's $10. At the same time, you don't need to buy a $400 microphone because you don't have a recording studio. But find that happy middle range, $40, $50 microphone. I think you'll find that that's going to work for you.
$10 microphones. I got a Rock Band microphone, and it's the best one I've got.
Lucked out.
Like
That's awesome.
Game Rock Band microphone, but it has it's got such a specific microphone on it because it has to pick you up and register with the game. So it actually creates great podcast sound. So if you're just getting started, you can start with something like that as long as it's quality.
Yeah, because I've been jerry rigging a shotgun mic, but it's really weird because I have to still keep it far away and it still works. But I'm kind of in that
you
weird.
You can do Audio Technica ATR 2100. Is a good one. It has both USB and XLR. So yeah.
For video broadcasting, you mentioned XSplit, which is what we use, but there's also OBS, which is the free open one.
OBS?
Open broadcasting software, I think is what it's called. And that's, I think most people that live stream on Twitch use that one. It's really, really slick and keeps getting better.
Well, there's a free version of XSplit too.
There?
Yeah.
It's a limited.
I think it has a watermark on it.
Yeah.
I just paid for XSplit.
It's not that much.
No. It's like $40 a year.
Yeah. Wirecast
Also
is
getting
amazing.
free
That's
with
like
some
500.
video cards now.
Oh,
nice.
cool.
My honest advice, and not everybody's going to agree with me, but don't stress about the technical end of it. You need to figure out your recording time and the people and the format. You need to get all that first, because if you can't get that hammered out, everything else is a waste of money. So I would hammer those out, and it's okay if it sounds like 2 Dixie cups and a string the first few episodes, because that's going to be, nobody wants the first few episodes of their show heard. Well, there's some exceptions, I'm sure, but most people who haven't done a podcast before probably don't need those first few episodes heard. You know, that's you and your co-host, or just you, your time to get your format worked out, and that is more important. The tech stuff, you'll find that, oh, well, I'm kind of having fun with this podcast. I'm going to drop $50 on a mic this week. Oh, maybe it's time for a new sound card. That will come naturally, I think.
That's really good advice.
Yeah, essentially the
that's
tech
really good
will
advice.
come, but your content has to be there.
Right.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So content is still king. You get
Queen.
or queen. Y'all have been hugely entertaining. I really enjoyed y'all's candidness and sharing everything.
I couldn't hear what?
You've been really great and entertaining.
Oh, well, thank you. Say it one more time.
Very entertaining. And I'm a content creator, so I want to figure out, this great way to actually express yourself and talk about your passion, all that good stuff. But 2-part question. Discoverability. I want to assume people listen on their mobile devices, but they probably do. So how do you get discoverability for your content, and how do you sift out the bad white noise? Because a lot of people might be doing mediocre stuff.
You mean like the competitions, like there's a lot of noise out there? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, there's bad podcasts. I don't know, if I can find a good gaming podcast.
Right.
If I have to sort through Stitcher, and it's
Yeah.
One you can
Network.
listen
so I'm so new. I'm on Stitcher, but I don't have time to vet it. I don't know how you vet it and how people.
I think we have at least 3 gaming podcasts up here, right, that you can check out, add to your list.
All right, so I got 3.
For me, for our discoverability and clearing out so that people can find what we need, our description of a mega reactor is 100% what you will get every episode.
Cool.
So our podcast description will straight up tell you that it's me and Ron arguing about games we love.
I like it. Okay.
And it's also a lot of me hardcore campaigning for indie games. Every episode we feature a Kickstarter, and every episode I usually discuss Humble Bundle, which is where you donate to charity and you get games for it. I got the entire Arkham series of games for donating $10 to children's charities.
Just $10?
Yeah.
No, I'm playing.
Humble Bundle is delightful, and I had an episode where we got some bad feedback because I was talking about Humble Bundle for a half hour.
Oh.
But just your description needs to be what people will get every episode.
Yeah.
Because if you say we're going to talk about games,
Are you talking about finding podcasts or making yours more discoverable? I'm sorry.
I think both. Yeah, I think both, and that's right. There's so much out there. How do people have a microsecond of attention? How do you capture it?
Yeah, that's very hard. One of the things I did is when 5 Truths and Life first came out, because of the celebrities that were on the show, it did really well as far as people discovering it because it was downloaded a lot and it shot up to the top of iTunes. Now, when I started Kneel Before Odd or Polecats, I couldn't get up on Stitcher's page or, in What's Hot in iTunes. So I just, I sent an email to like 50 of my friends and I said, you don't have to listen to it, but go download my show right now. And in 3 hours, it was in What's Hot in iTunes. Wow. So I used, my friends and family, my mother who doesn't know a thing about podcasts, and I told her what to do.
Just go to her house.
My husband's like always working, so I just go on his, I have all his passwords, so I went on all his devices and downloaded my podcast. And a few hours later, and I stayed in What's Hot for a week. And so when people go to a podcast page, they see your icon, and it's more likely they'll check you out. And so now I do have a little following that I created from having friends and family help me. Yeah. Never be afraid to ask for help. Go listen to Amanda Palmer's, TED Talk.
But guest hosting on similar podcasts, like a lot of my listeners from Omega Reactor came from the time I spent on Charles's podcast because they enjoyed, I guess, me being.
They still call for you to come back.
Okay.
I will come back in.
They want you her to replace.
Sometimes they absolutely do.
But yeah, like guest host on similar podcasts, like just reach out to another podcast and be like, hey, we kind of have a thing going that's similar to yours. Do you want to team up for an episode? And then that promotes both of you because then their listeners now know about you and your listeners now know about them.
You kind of scared them away from that, your early experiences with those, male chauvinist pigs.
Well, and the way that we got the word out about it was because we went to a lot of other girl-centric blogs and said, hey, can we pay for some ad space on your blog because, the guys won't promote us. So we just really went about promoting ourselves in spaces with similar audiences.
You can also try and get your content out on as many platforms as possible.
Yep.
So you could, for example, we don't live stream on Twitch. I have a contract with a partner on YouTube until January, and then I'm totally going over to Twitch. You could record it live on Twitch, archive that on YouTube, and then put the audio up on your podcast feed. That's 3 places for people to find it. We actually went the opposite way. We started doing it on YouTube, and we didn't add the audio podcast feed until people started asking for it. But that's now people on iTunes can find my podcast and my company. And then on YouTube, not only do, because you can tag the crap out of stuff in YouTube, and you should, so people find it. I did a live stream where I talked about using the software Maya, because that's what we were using at the time. Autodesk, the people that own Maya, got a hold of me, and now we're working with them. So not only audience members, but potential partners and stuff can find you in any of those places.
And everywhere you can upload your podcast, do so. I mean, we did ours for BlackBerry had a podcasting place you can upload. And, a lot of people sleep on that, and then Microsoft as well.
Under your seats, there are USB cards and JJ's podcast on there. Just go ahead and take those home.
I did that for a while. I was like, you know what? I'm going to hand out USB sticks with my show on it because that's the way to get people listening.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in having a brand or a tagline. Describe your show in 1 sentence or less because, like you said, you have a microsecond of attention, right? Describe your show in 1 sentence or less. What makes your show different? Especially if you're a gaming podcast. There's 5,000 gaming podcasts out there. What makes you a special snowflake? And everybody has it in one way or another. So what is it? And especially, I've got a show called Orange Lounge Radio. People don't think about video games when they hear that. That name's important to us. We're not going to change that name. I don't want to be the 3-hour video game chit chat show. And apologies if that's your show. I'm not trying to shade you, but that it was the name for us. But our tagline is where every gamer has a voice. And so if people think Orange Lounge Radio, oh, that's the crazy one where they have all these random guests in studio and people call in to talk about anything in gaming, I am totally fine with that. That is the show.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Hugely entertaining.
Thank you.
And real quick, I've not seen anybody do this. I haven't asked a lot of questions on other panels, but typically I stand up and go, I'm Charles. I'm from Success Freaks or whatever show I'm representing for that particular panel, and then ask my question. And that's what you can do when you go to these cons. Yes. I'm Rob from... I always think Voice of God because I think it's awesome, Bob. But Voice
you
of
know
Gamers.
What's so funny? Our early tagline when we first started the network was Kneel Before Vogue, and now I think that's so funny. Yeah. Do I owe you money?
Yes.
I got a quarter.
Hi, I'm William Mount from the Sounds of Bustown and Podcast and a Half Shell. I was curious about just getting on a network or a group of other shows. Is it something to try to seek out yourself, or do you just have to wait till somebody approaches you?
Not signing a
Yeah. So.
I mean, only a stupid person would do that.
So I know for Renee and I, just because of who we are, we didn't want to commit because we want to be able to do what we want to do. And there was this awesome guy named Todd, or Gnomewise, who is here now, who has an awesome network that's from Alpha Geek Radio. That he is a very helpful guy for folks that's looking for a network, a place where it's just nerdy and geeky. And he does a great job, and I'm just thankful for that because, I mean, I'm not trying to kiss up to you, Todd, but it's really nice to be like, I don't have Todd coming to Renee and I.
Hey, Valentine Cast is on the front page.
Well, the thing is, I don't have Todd saying, Renee, Jay, you guys can't talk about, you need to calm down. You can't be who you are. But we don't have any of that. Yeah, I can't be angry. So
that's why I get turned down for networks.
Right.
Like,
so.
I'd love to have a Mega Reactor as a part of the network. They listen to 3 episodes. They're like, no, we're good.
Unless I miss something, Todd, and maybe I'll miss something. Okay, all right.
Night attack streams on my
So that was the reason we didn't want to jump on the network. So.
Here's your chance, my friend. You're in a room full of fellow podcasters. One of the biggest things I get out of Dragon Con is the networking. I've met a lot of great people in doing this track. We're all nerds, so we're approachable. I would say, network, talk to some people while you got a chance here, or wherever you might go to any type of, conventions or other spaces. There's a lot of people doing podcasting. Don't be shy. Be proud about what you're doing.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's why, on Omega Reactor, we have our commercial break, and it's non-purchasable ad space. The only requirement is that you either have to be an indie game or another podcast.
Oh, cool.
We will happily promote you in our commercial break, but you have to be a podcast or an indie game because we want to support the community and put that out there.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Renee from the Valentine Cast.
You're pretty.
Yay. Hey, creeper. So I have a question about sponsors. For those of you all who have sponsors, was it a good move? Do you think that other people should get sponsors? Those of you who don't have sponsors, are you looking for some, or would you rather not? I don't think you'd like what I'd offer you, but
I would.
Dude would be my babysitter. Yeah, you could be a nanny. That'd be good.
We have a couple of informal little things here and there. I'd probably like to do more, but it's only really come up because it fit. Like I said, we worked with Autodesk on a couple projects, and that worked really well. And this company called Smooth On that does a lot of the materials. Yeah, they make silicone and urethane resins and all this stuff I use all the time anyway. And we work with them on a project by project basis. So they've sponsored a couple of projects, and I did 4 videos for them. I'd like to do more of that stuff, but it kind of just happened organically, and it happened because it fit really well for the project.
Anybody else? Sponsors chasing him?
I had a sponsor once.
That was AA though.
Hey. No, a podcast I was a part of. We had a sponsor, and it was a geekery podcast. And we got sponsored by a video game, and the main person running the show was the one that signed the contract. And it started feeling really uncomfortable of every episode we have to talk about this game in some aspect. And you get to episode 7, you're like, there's nothing else for me to say. Buy the game, make them happy. I don't care. So
I like using. I mean, this is, Audible.com is this, as an affiliate. If it fits what you're talking about. So in Kneel Before Odd, I'm usually talking to writers and stuff like that. So Audible.com. You're only going to make, it's dollars and cents, but everything counts. It depends on how many hits they get from your show. And you basically, in the middle, have to say, okay, listen to audible.com, use this, Kneel Before Odd when you sign into the site. But then I turn to my guest and I say, what should somebody read, And we always pitch our favorite books. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't seem as invasive as just a straight-up commercial if you're actually pitching your own books. And then, that's an extra $50 a month. It's not the best, but it's if you're starting there and while you're looking for sponsors and stuff like that, may be helpful.
Yeah, and I've had plenty of people come to me for my YouTube channel offering some sort of thing that totally didn't fit. So I had people who said, "Oh, we would love for you to mention our earbuds on your prop making video, and we'll send you free earbuds." And I am swimming in earbuds. I'm good. It would have been so contrived to sort of shoehorn that into me making stuff. Or a shoe company, like designer shoes. Like, dude, I work in a shop. I wear slippers usually, or steel-toed boots in my shop, and they're gross. Like, it's so not a good fit. So I just turn them down.
So that's what I was saying. Know who you are.
Yeah.
Know who you are before you approach a sponsor or they approach you. So you know it's a fit. The one conversation I had with a sponsor recently, and we signed them on, was to say, here's the conversation. We're not radio. We're not going to give you a CPM. We're not going to tell you our numbers to start off with. It's about the relationship. Here's who we are. This is our voice in podcasting. And that set the tone for the whole conversation. And they liked it. And they signed on for a flat rate. And it's all good. But I've had plenty of people turn you down. So know who you are if you're going for money.
Hi, I'm Tracy from Fandom, Fangirls, and Fan Fiction, aka Triple F Podcast.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. That sounds like something I want to listen to.
See, listener right there.
Yay! And because one of my questions was going to be about the discoverability, but he beat me to it. But one of my co-hosts wanted me to ask about music on your podcast. Like, how do you navigate that tricky slope of copyright?
You know, if you're using songs that is ASCAP one of the companies, and then
BMI.
What's the other big one?
BMI.
Thank you, BMI. And so for 5 Truths and a Lie, we have the 6 stories, and there's always a musical interlude that we put in, a song that relates to the story that was just told. And we're not getting the downloads like a radio station would. So what we do is, like ASCAP, you can pay just a yearly fee and use as many songs as you want if you're not getting 1 million downloads, you know. Or BMI, same thing, a yearly fee, and you have to just send them download reports and everything. And they base everything on your downloads, and it's actually, they make it affordable, I find, for my purposes.
I know oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I got really lucky, and all of our music is done by my friend who's a chiptune artist that I've known for 25 years. So it's just like, he just goes, hey, made a new song, have it. So also, like, source your friends, because then you get to promote your friends, you know. At the end of every episode, I get to say, go check out that Andy guy on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
So
I know for me, we looked up with an artist called Pretty Lights Music before he got kind of big. I emailed him and asked him, because I heard one song, and I was like, can we use your music for our podcast? And I actually got an email back from his manager, and he was like, yeah, it's fine, just make sure you just mention us on the podcast. And then also Brian Ebbett helped me out with Andrew Allen Trio. You know, I just asked, you know, can I use this as what they call bed music, you know, to play in the background as we're talking and stuff. And
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Until I finally got sick of free play, because I listened to it for like on a loop for like.
Well, I have it turned down really
So,
low, just enough to fill in. So.
I got to do the Dunaway thing now. Unfortunately, we're down to the last minute, so sorry, guys. But they will be happy to answer some questions after the panel, I'm sure. Real quick, tell us where we can find your stuff and where you think, in a sentence, where the future is going for new media.
I hope that my future, I want to do more high-end produced videos, mostly as an excuse to buy more cool camera gear. So I like that, seeing more video content on YouTube made by 1 or 2 people in their basement that looks like it's made by 100 people in a studio. Yeah, I really like that. My stuff's all at punishedprops.com.
And for my future, I really want to push the indie game circuit harder. Like, we pushed a game on Kickstarter really hard that actually got funded and is now being made, so we're very excited. The game's Perception, by the way, from the people that made BioShock. But I really want to get into pushing that and start doing a YouTube channel where we go and do behind-the-scenes tours with indie game studios, kind of, because there's a lot of people getting into it now, so I really want to kind of bring that world open to people.
And where's your show found?
And my show is found at omegareactor.blogspot.com.
JJ?
You can find everything with my wife and I at valentinecast.com. And our future is, I want to double what I made this year for podcasting, you know, but it's a great hobby, and that's what I want to continue to love it. So
there you go.
Yeah.
You have to double it because you have twins.
The biggest show that I do is Orange Lounge Radio, which you can find on the Voice of Geeks network. That's vognetwork.com. Best place to find me personally, and Bobby down there has flyers if you're interested. And best place to find me personally on Twitter at Sky, S-K-I-E. As far as the future, I think the honest answer I have for that is we're going to have to contend with a lot more of push button make content. And that is, Periscope, push button, now I've got content. PlayStation 4, push button, now I've got content. And as people who make more crafted content, that can be both a good thing and a bad thing. We're going to have to learn how to embrace it and coexist with it.
Awesome.
You can find my podcast at geekgirlauthority.com under the show page, and also at 5truthsandlie.com under the podcast page. You can find me on Twitter at Audrey Kearns or at geekgirlauth, because already would take up too many spaces. I don't know. But at Audrey Kearns, and we have Facebook pages under those names as well. Future, what he said and what he said. I want to make some more money, and I agree with you about what's coming out in the future.
All right, now there's a special lock on this door. You cannot get out of the room till you rate 5 stars on the panel. So go into it. It's like the third button down. Rate us. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming.
I didn't make it even. This is what I made. This is what I made this year.
Me too. Of course, absolutely. Let's trade. Thanks.
You're gonna be up here for a minute. Put the hat on. Let's do it. It's still clean. I haven't sweated it yet.
I want to move to doing video.
I have a big melon.
Oh.